go. Bounce it like a
Ho.
see that? Teamwork make the dream work.
All right. You ready for this?
Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go.
Here we go. And 3, 2, 1. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and great evening, beautiful people out here. And welcome to Let Me Say This. I'm Aiden A.D.
Meagan D.
This is a show about giving opinions on all that's going on in the world, whether it's current, past, politics, history, pop culture, and stuff that we experienced throughout the last time we seen you. So this is our third episode. Megan, our third one. Third time's the charm.
Yay, third time need to be a charm, cause okay.
So let's just do a check-in. So it's been a while since the last time we spoke. Megan, what has been going on in your life?
Check in, 1, 2, 1, 2. One, I wanted to talk about finding joy. You know, the revolution will be televised. Hey,
Social media vibes.
find joy when you have to fight. There's James Baldwin, you know, to be black in America is to stay in rage, and having to balance that, man. You know, I still think the killers of Breonna need to be arrested. Let's not forget, I could do multiple things at one time, people. I can laugh and I can fight at the same time. But I just want to say, yes, injustice is still happening. Let's not forget that. But it is okay for us to find joy in self-care, and that's something I've been trying to balance. I have been mentally preparing myself for the reset, having to move from Chicago back home to Atlanta has been quite a process.
Yeah, I know moving takes a lot of energy, and a lot of focus, a lot of energy, a lot of time. So especially moving across states, you know, moving out of state. Yeah. So how do you feel about
miles away?
So how do you feel about moving back home?
I'm just getting to the point, honestly, where I can accept it. It felt premature. It wasn't something that was really in my control. Chicago is a city that is real active. Be able to move with your body. You need to be able to walk, run, skip, hop, skate, not skate, bike, you know, it's just active. And so when you are in a city that's active and flourishes off of tourism and theater, entertainment, culture, and it's not functioning, it's, what is your point?
Yeah.
What do you do with that? So that's been hard to swallow, that shutdown, that culture has been shifted so hard. But I have been participating in many conversations surrounding theater in Atlanta specifically. And I'm a little hopeful that changes will be made, and hopeful that I can find my place back into that community. So I'm not that pressed, and it'll be good for me to be around more space. Maybe I'll get back on a lifestyle diet plan and lose some LBs.
Lose some what? Oh, LB. Speaking of LBs, I've gotten back into the gym ever since the last time we spoke, and I liked it. You know, like you said, finding joy. I think the phase 2 that we're doing out here in Las Vegas, I was able to get some of my joy back because we opened a lot more businesses and gyms and stuff. And so I've always said, ever since quarantine started for me, I'm not working. A lot of stuff that I indulged in, for my recreational time, I wasn't able to do. So as far as like being outside the house, so it's just like movie theaters are closed, restaurants and bars are closed, music venues are closed, and gyms are
Oh,
closed.
yeah.
So I felt like it was just like all like crushing in. Like only thing I had control of was like my emotions. So for me, luckily the gym opened back up. So like at least I get active and just like a form of like release of like tension or just like all the stuff that's going on in my head, that it's just an outlet for me. So yeah, I got back in the gym. I started doing hikes again. I started listening to podcasts. I found, okay, excuse me. I found like 2 podcasts that I'm like, where has this been all this time? You know, yeah, that's just what I've been up to ever since the last time we spoke.
Also celebrating Juneteenth and not.
What did you do for Juneteenth? All 3 days.
It's not our independence. Chicago, again, I said, is a live, active city. They have been popping fireworks every day since then.
Since Juneteenth?
Every day since then. It's so interesting to change your culture because I am actually in the city of Chicago versus when I say Atlanta, I really mean the suburbs, the outskirts of Atlanta is where I actually live. So being in a situation where I can literally see fireworks outside of my window to the point where it was flashing in front of my window and I got nervous. I was like, is this gonna come through my window? Just loud? Is it just so that's been interesting to witness. But June, I don't even know. I was somewhere being black.
Aren't we all?
What is happening? And why is our next portion of this conversation. So you just said it. People are out here like it's still not a pandemic. Mask or no mask. To be, that is the question.
Cover or to not cover? To cover? To not to cover. You see what I mean? Like that transaction of all this, you know, the stank breath, these germs from your respiratory system. We don't want that. And my question is, we made it mandatory. The governor of Nevada made it mandatory, I want to say last week or 2 weeks ago. If you're out in public, it's mandatory to wear a mask. Now, the thing is, number one, I'm glad he did it, but number two, why did it take so long for him after opening the casinos to mandate that? Long before we reopened the casinos, California enforced that. City of Los Angeles enforced that. So that should have been the thing from the get-go.
The point I'm making about mask is it was so much misinformation about what mask, what should you wear it, you know, things of that nature. Then to top it all off, you have leadership in the house that's white over there in DC who have called this a hoax, called this ridiculous, won't participate in anything involving masks, just wanting to fight this idea that people have rights and people should be able to make their own choices. And that's all well and done and cool and all of that, but here's the thing. I don't know about y'all, but I've never been in a pandemic. I know about epidemics.
Welcome to your first one.
But I've never been in one. So because I've never been in one and I don't know what the heck this is, I'm going to wear a mask. I don't care. It's no sweat off of my back because I put something on my face. I mean, what am I saying because I don't want to wear a mask that you can't make me because I have rights? That is entitlement. That is superiority complex.
So I want to say this as far as just like, because you said something, people say it's their right to not wear a mask. So I'm not going to, this is going to be a topic for another cast or whatever, but I wanted to just leave you with this. So you said people have the right to not wear a mask or tell them what to do with their bodies, but think about abortions too. So I just want to, so it's like, how can you say that, but you You know what I mean? So yeah, that's it on that one. I'm just saying it's your right, it's your body. So how are you gonna dictate and tell a woman what she cannot do with her body? But it's her right as a human being.
Can you say that one more time for the people? You know, some people who came in late to church and they sitting in the back. Can you?
Well, Megan was talking about how some people don't wear the mask because it's their right to not wear a mask, and how can you tell them what they can and cannot do with their body and their choices? However, but those are the same people are saying that they don't believe in abortions because they want to tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body and her choices. So I'm just gonna drop that bomb right there, leave that, and we're gonna move on. We're gonna continue with the mask conversation. So I go back to the gym once we open up phase 2, which now masks are mandatory inside the gym. So to give you a brief history about my opinions in the mask, when this quarantine first started off, and like you were saying earlier, people didn't know what the purpose was for the mask, so some people decided to wear it even though it wasn't mandatory. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people who did not wear a mask in public anytime I went out to pick up something. Now, if the store required you to wear a mask, like if I went to go pick up food, I would easily just put on my mask, get in, get what I needed, and leave. But going to the gym, where now I'm walking into the gym, I have the mask hanging on, and by the time I walk in the door, I go ahead and pull it over. But this pair of guys coming out the gym, they're like, oh, I gotta wear a stupid effing mask and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, how hard is it? How hard is it? How hard is it? Because my theory is, for the longest time, I really thought grocery stores should have recommended or made the mask mandatory the moment you step inside the grocery store. Think about all that produce that's just sitting out there in the air. And then like people are not wearing that. Hey, but you know it, but hey, it's true. Think about it. And because you know when you walk in the grocery store, the first thing you see is the produce section. Especially in Walmart. Especially like in the super Walmart, how a couple of Walmarts out here, you know how super Walmart has like 2 entrances. One is the food side, others like the pharmacy and home side. Mm-hmm. But a lot of Walmarts out here only had the home and pharmacy side entrance closed and had the food one open. But they weren't mandatory. It wasn't mandatory to wear a mask. And I'm like, so I think anytime you have food, you should wear a mask. But fast forward to now, which our governor is now making it mandatory for us to wear masks. I don't have a problem with it. And I'm doing it out of consideration of other people. And the fact is, yeah, it's the rules to wear a mask, but it's kind of sensible to wear a mask, even if it was a rule that you agree with or don't agree with. So my theory is, for all the people who are anti-mask, for all the Karens and Kevins out there, my suggestion is, if you have to go to Walmart or Target for anything, go ahead and make a list of what you need. Suck it up, put on that effing mask for 10, 15 minutes, go inside, get what you need, dart. What's it called? Like that speed shopping show, grocery store, just run around, get your stuff, check out, boom. The moment you're outside, go ahead and take it off if it's too much for you. You know, just do it out of consideration, because I know you think it's a hoax. I know you think it's fake. I know you don't think that this quarantine or this COVID-19 thing is a hoax and not real. I'm pretty sure people aren't dying of natural causes. I'm pretty sure the American economy is not suffering for a hoax. So, and then to wrap it up, for what I'm gonna say, I'll let you talk, but it's just like what you said about the leader. The leader of the free world is not wearing a mask and is not really taking it as serious, people's health as serious as losing his money. But at the same time, even if that leadership is not, even the leader is not showing a good example of what to do, think for yourself. Be considerate of other people and just respect that. That's all you have to do. I'm gonna drink.
Well, okay. Passionate about masks today.
So yeah, I'll just say wear the mask, even though I don't like it either, but I'm doing it out of respect, and because this is the thing about the COVID-19 thing, it's not really going to go away until we all get on the same, a majority of us, and I say majority as in like 95% of us, get on the same page and just act like, and take it serious, even though we can't see it. and it's not affecting us, or it hasn't affected us yet. But I think it will probably have to affect everybody for them to be like, get on the same page, like a family member dying or a family member contracting it. The fact that we can't go back outside to do anything until it all goes away.
Kevins and Karens, and I was gonna rhyme, but it didn't work out. I was gonna make up I'll come back.
Are we doing Karens and Kevins right now? Because let me just say, yeah. I found myself waking up one morning early, and then I found this Instagram page, and it was like dedicated to all the Karens and Kevins of the world. Going back to the Instagram, I was just seeing all these footages of just like Karens and Kevins complaining in stores, saying, I don't want to wear a mask. I saw a video, literally somebody who, Kevin, tried to go inside of a Walmart, and two people were blocking him from going in, saying you have to get a mask. You're like, I'm not getting the mask. I'm not wearing my mask. Blah, blah. He literally does like football movements around the workers just to go in. And they're like, sir, we're not going to serve you if you come in without a mask. You can go ahead and get what you need, but once you get to the checkout line, we're not going to serve you. We'll even block the self-checkout lines in Walmart. And so it goes back to the mask, like, why is it so hard? But then there's also people complaining at Starbucks about like not having enough berries in their fusion drink or some shit like that. And it's just like, all that's going on in the world, you find the smallest thing and you try to make it like this. And the thing about Karens and Kevins too, is like, they don't really give a F. They don't care if you're recording them. They'll talk to the camera like, I don't give a F, I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. And then like, they know they're being recorded and they're being defined or entitled. And so when it makes headlines, when it goes back to their jobs, when it affects their network or their income and their public perception, that's when they play victim. Oh, I'm sorry, I was having a bad day, or yes, I do have Black friends, or I didn't have a mask. So they're so quick to play victim once they're being called out.
I mean, really, I'll just add to that. I've seen a Karen, she got to the register, she threw out everything out the buggy, just in a temper tantrum, just and you can have this, you know.
It's just like, why? It's like, why? Why?
That's exactly what it is. I don't want, it's something that I can't even give energy to be honest.
Okay.
It's exhausting to.
But it's entertaining though. It's entertaining. Like I said, I spent like the next hour and a half just going through videos, just laughing at it all, because I had nothing else to do. I just woke up and I didn't want to like put on TV or anything. I didn't feel like reading. I was just like, oh, Karens and Kevins, and they're just people from all over. Oh, my favorite is like, do you live here? Do you live in this neighborhood? No, I know everybody. I know the people who own this place. You're like, I've been living here for 3 months. This is like, it goes back to just minding your effing business. You know what I'm saying? Just mind your business, do what you need to do, move on.
It's minding, people minding their business is never going to happen. And you know why? I'm going to say this, and then I'm personally done with it, but I was rewatching one of my favorite shows the other night, Pose. It's now on Netflix. And, you know, in the scene, there was this gay bar, and these trans women weren't allowed to patronize this place, and they threw them out. And the actor says, people are not okay unless they know that they have someone to feel superior to. And that's why it's always a hierarchy. You know what I mean? These tantrums, these, you know, why do you live here? It's just a way to pick at you. It is just a way for them to feel better about themselves, to say, go back to where you came from, and you have no place here, and you're not welcome. And that's why we have to be very careful of how we engage, because those things only harm us in the long run. In terms of wellness, for our mental health, you know, when we talk about mental illness in the Black community, when we talk about stress, when we talk about microaggressions, when we talk about racism, those things affect us on a deeper level, and people know that, and that's why they do it. It's pure hate. So basically, we touched on it. We touched on the idea of what it's like to be BIPOC and be in predominantly white spaces. You know, I don't.
So explain to the people out there, what does BIPOC mean?
It means Black, Indigenous, people of color. So that way we are inclusive of all people. The Native people have to be included. Because why not? We know the history. We know the truth. We know why we have to be that way. We know why we have to use this acronym now, right?
BIPOC.
I don't want to get off subject, but we're talking about predominantly white spaces. I want to say that I really had to reflect yesterday, July 4th, on why my parents, my grandparents, my family had us celebrating July 4th. Now, granted, it's tricky because my grandfather, when I was growing up, my grandfather's birthday was on the 4th. So I understand how that would make sense because we would be celebrating his birthday at the same time. I miss those cookouts. When you're from Memphis and that barbecue. My childhood, but I understand it in terms of that dynamic. But the fact that I have never known about Juneteenth until I got well and grown is a problem. And now I'm realizing what white spaces do, especially educationally. We over and over find our history being buried and removed and rewritten, whitewashed, as they say. And I just felt some kind of way. I felt some kind of way about realizing that this is truly the independence of white people from Britain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that got to do with me? Nothing. But we get blinded by the idea of eating hot dogs and hamburgers and popping fireworks and, you know, all of these things that distract us from the truth. And I understand when people say, well, we want to reclaim it. This, you know, this idea of why do Black people go hike Stone Mountain knowing that it was rebirth of the Klan? And
that's another conversation, yeah.
Walk our behinds up and down that thing, but they're like, well, it's a reclaiming space, it's a reclaiming space. But then we don't understand that there's still power dynamics and power structures within that we have not had the conversation about. So how are you reclaiming a power on something that we never even discussed?
Yeah, but just like you said, like how the July 4th is mostly about America's independence, and that we're sidetracked about like hot dogs and grilling and stuff like that. But that's just America, though. That's like America with almost any holiday, going to Thanksgiving, not really focusing on the root of Thanksgiving. Same thing with Christmas too, depending on who you believe in and worship. Same thing with Halloween. Same thing with St. Valentine's Day. It's more of a capitalism and commercialism, and to get away from the focus of what that holiday is about. Now, going back to original, what you said about why are we just now learning about Juneteenth, I think now, as far as the Black community, Black people, and Black culture, within the last 10 years, we become more aware of our greatness, and we're slowly voicing over time that certain things we're just not going to do anymore. So I think I knew about Juneteenth probably around 5-6 years ago. I visited my family in Des Moines, Iowa, and my aunt's a huge like activist, and she's a huge Black activist. So it was like a Juneteenth celebration. So I was like, dang, I'm like preteen, teenagers, years old, and I just found out about Juneteenth. That was kind of weird. But I think now with all that's been going on within the past 3 to 4 months, it's like we're realizing like, yeah, we can partake in certain activities dealing with July 4th, but we're not really going to celebrate America's independence when America's been shitting on us for hundreds of years. So that's why we're like, okay, we're celebrating Juneteenth. We're going to turn this into like a 3-4 day celebration, reassurance, saying like the slaves in Texas were still enslaved. I think it was like a year or two after the Confederacy lost the Civil War. So, if I'm wrong about that, but still, that's a long time for slaves to still be enslaved, and like the other side of the country is free. And it's like, even the freed slaves couldn't like come to Texas and be like, y'all, what are y'all doing? Like, that was a joke, but it was just like, in theory, it was like, yo, slavery's still going on. Even like America's like, yeah, they didn't get the message. Y'all lost the war. That didn't even last. They didn't even last 5 years. That's not even like a milestone. The Civil War or the Confederacy didn't even last 5 years. So going back to the point, because I'm rambling, but it's just like, I think we just have this reassurance now that, especially now, I see more people wanting to learn more about Black history outside of MLK, outside of Rosa Parks, outside of Benjamin Banneker. So we're more in depth, as far as like learning our history, and we're more vocal about like, hey, we had American history in high school and middle school. Let's just maybe do add some more Black history in that curriculum. And pretty soon, once that evolves, like, throughout the years, we're going to start learning more about Hispanic and Latino history. And then, don't forget about our Native American brothers and sisters, who had this land before. And, that's another conversation, how they were treated in the end and overall.
I mean, this is the last point I make on this topic, but at the end of the day, for me, it's overwhelming. There's so much knowledge out there. It's overwhelming. You're not going to learn everything in one day. So you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to be patient with others who don't know, because at some point we all had to start, and at some point we all didn't know. And for me, even just growing up in Georgia, just first of all, I've lived in 4 places at this point. I've lived in, and my mom has also lived in different places. So for me, I lived in Memphis, which was so African-American based in terms of music, in terms of activism. I'm from Orange Mound, which is the first African-American neighborhood in the United States. So there's things about my own native place that I don't know about that history in full. Then to move to, outskirts of Atlanta, which is full of our history as well. I don't know, it's just, you're never going to catch up, because it just is so, it feels like it's so much. And living in Boston and living in Chicago now, and you learn these things, and you learn culturally.
Graphically too.
Graphically, about history. So I just want to say that. And then I feel as if it is better to learn other cultures as well, so you don't remain ignorant. One thing I know for sure, and this could be a whole nother conversation, is that I have recently gotten to the conclusion that I felt as if growing up, the only qualification or the only thing handed to me was a Bible. I didn't learn about culture. I didn't even learn about my own culture. What I was told that all I needed was Jesus. And that's all well and good, but we live in the world where there's a reality, and culture and race exist, and we have to know what we're going up against. I had no idea. Huh?
Or living amongst as well.
Yeah, living amongst. I had no idea what I was up against the day I was called an N-word when I moved to a certain part of Georgia. I wasn't equipped, because I thought I was, first of all, I was coming from a neighborhood that everyone looked like me in Memphis, to a neighborhood where it was more white. So I hadn't hadn't even
had that experience.
The concept of race at such a young age. So, like I said, we have to get to a point where we see outside of ourselves, because that's the only way we're going to correct things that are wrong.
And get more of an understanding of each other. Like, because I mean, out here in Las Vegas, a lot of Hispanics and Latinos, and I'm just like, okay, I've been living out here for 3 years. I'm like, what is their story? Who are their heroes? Who's their, like, right. You know, I always wondered, because I'm like, but then that was when I was working cruise ships too as well. You know, when I had the time, I would literally sit with other crew members and be like, hey, tell me what life is like back in your country. You know, why did you decide to work on a ship? And then why decide to be in housekeeping and XYZ, blah, blah, blah. They're like, I make a lot of money doing this, but life is back at home, is, you know, depending on what country they come from, because a lot of them come from third world countries. And being on a cruise ship is a good job for them. So you wonder why. And, you know, when I went to Mexico, I always went outside the tourist parts just to see how people in that area live. And the thing was, the closest to the port was like more nicer, but I would ride like the public bus outside, and you see people with cinder blocks for walls. You see some people who didn't have roofs, people using curtains for doors. And it's just like, wow, we don't know. Yeah, we really don't know. And then people are, and even like here in the US, but just in other countries, that way we get an understanding of each other rather than like cut each other off or size each other off or what religion we believe in or how we vote. How about have a conversation like, okay, so why do you worship that God? Or why do you think otherwise? Why do you support what the police is doing?
And listen, that could be another topic for a whole nother day, because you want to be the type of person that is curious. You have to be curious about the world, first of all, to even go and ask those questions. You know, like I said, being from the South, you're handed the Bible, and you know, I didn't really have an understanding of, you know, my grandmother being apostolic and my dad's side being, you know, something else. I don't know what they was. Methodist, I don't know. But, you know, like, you don't even understand that even though these people all believe in Jesus, that it's still different. You know what I mean? And what I didn't like once I, you know, switched over to non-denomination when I was a teenager was simply the fact that I felt like people wanted me to believe that other religions were wrong and make theirs superior. And then once, like you said, you start talking to people about theirs and their culture and their religion, you go, that's not what I heard about your religion. That is not what I heard. That is not what I heard.
You got to have
it from people who are ignorant. People
you got to have the conversation.
You got to have the conversation. All right. That was a lot. We know it can get deep up in here, y'all, because, you know, like we said, let me say this, let me say this, let me say this, let me say this. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. So let's take some of these conversations and have larger conversations later. But let's go ahead and shake that off, because that was deep. That was a lot. Woo! That was a lot. Now we want to move on to something a little more, I hope, lighter. Okay? Oh, because I don't know. And this section is called, it's entertainment. So it's entertaining. And of course, everyone wants to talk about Jada and August Alsina. Let me say this.
I'm listening.
I'm a little on the older side. So when I say I had to go back and be like, what songs do I know from this person? Because I don't know him. I know Jada because growing up, Pac was it for me. That man, love me some Tupac, love me some Jada, love me some Different World. Look, I'm more of a Jada fan. And I knew that he was on Red Table Talk with her, discussing his addiction to Percocet, and I knew that they close, huh?
Tupac?
August Alsina was on Red Table Talk.
I thought you said Tupac was on Red Table Talk.
No.
I know. I'm just joking.
So I knew he was on there, and I got to know about him on that platform. But when this hit, I was just like, but I don't know his music, because I understood that the album was dropping at the same time. And I had questions. Questions about why now? Why would you say this now? I'm not saying that Will and Jada should be defended or protected and whatever, because that's something we tend to do, especially when we're fans. I'm a fan of Jada and Will. I am a fan of Jada and the Red Table Talk. So, you know, I don't know him. So I try not to sway too much. I try to be here. And I decided, okay, instead of me trying to pick a side because of what I heard and what I did, let me go back and see where the source came from. So he did an interview with Angela Yee. I went and watched up until that point where he talks about the situation. The interview was pretty good. I'm going to watch the rest of it. So he does the interview. He brings it up because he's talking about being in love and feeling that for the first time. So that was the context. The context was about him speaking his truth and being free from anything that can cause him to be less than doing so, right? And talking about this idea of love and experiencing love for the first time and experiencing it with this person. So then what was striking was Angela said, oh, because I watched your documentary and I could tell that I had to watch the documentary in order to listen to the album. So I was like, okay, he got a documentary, bet. I'm gonna go watch the documentary. And so it came from the reason why Angela Yee had the question about, I guess, the Jada situation is because he kind of brought it up with no name. And his documentary, where basically he talked again about experiencing falling in love with a person, seeing someone every day, waking up and seeing someone every day is where I was like, so together, like what we and then my friend sent me. This will be graphic language. Then my friend sent me a picture of him in boxers, and I said, oh, I get it. You're not waking up every day to that in the morning. And being like, let's just meditate together. I won't be believing that. I gotta speak my truth. So my question to you is, I have a question for you. With all that I just laid out.
Question.
Does living your truth mean that you have to kiss and tell publicly? Does that make sense?
No. It doesn't mean that. No, it doesn't mean that, because some things, it's just, I don't know, because I think when I've overcome my obstacles, I'm not blasting it to my people on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. It's just I tell that to close friends, especially those who knew the struggles I was going through at the time. But it's harder for him as a public figure. And he kind of, and the thing was about that whole situation, I think it's, for him, he was a public figure and that we all knew about it. Now, first of all, like you said at the beginning, I had to look back on his discography. I'm like, what song does he sing? I'm like, why do we, I'm like, first of all, I was like, why do we care? Because that's whatever they do in their house is whatever they do in their house. But the thing is, when you put it out there like that, it's I forget the term of it, but it's just like it's open for opinion. Once you put it out there, it's open for opinion. I think we only care as far as like living his truth. It's just like, because he was asked about it, he's a public figure, and maybe it had to do with something about what he's there being interviewed about, which is his art. So he said, like, yeah, I had to live my truth. So I focused on it through this documentary, this album. So that way you can have like a base of what the inspiration was behind this body of work that I'm now releasing to the public. But now it's being overshadowed from the album.
Let me say this. My opinions that I create, I have tried to create a dynamic where I can really choose and be aware of how I am giving an opinion about someone else publicly based on following the crowd, right? So I step on outside the box, and I feel, you know, it's just like with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Did we need to know about their relationship and if Jay-Z cheated on her? And, you know, no, it ended up in their music. It ended up them addressing it in their music. And I understand addressing, expressing yourself in your art based upon the things you've gone through, because every artist has done it since the beginning of time. That is not an issue. What my question is what does it say about our society when people feel as if they have to hide who they truly are? So what if they have made some kind of, you know, Monique was the same way with her husband. Okay, they made a pact to be open, that they, you know, the whole cheating ideal was not realistic for them, that they went ahead and said, okay, well, we have an open marriage because we are committed to being together regardless as partners. And so we are stripping this ideology of what we think marriage really is and what we've been told it is. Because if people really want to do their research on marriage in the beginning of time was poly. People had multiple wives and husbands. And then it became monogamy. So all I'm saying is, what is the comment about our society that shames people into having to be in the closet about something or another? You know, they clearly feel that they have to continuously lie about the choices they've made in their relationship. And what's hard for me to hear is people are like, oh, well, that's why their kids are weird. It's like, no, their kids are cultured. Their kids have traveled the world. Their kids have been around all types of people. You know, they are not restricted to, I grew up in my grandma's house. We went to church every Tuesday and Sunday. Praise the Lord. No, they have a more broad view of the world, so they have a different type of freedom. It's not weird. It's just different. Mm-hmm. So I just personally have an issue with whether she had a connection with that boy or not. I just personally feel like it's not my business.
Right.
The end. It's not my business. I wasn't there when they made the connection. I wasn't there when they was having bubble tea together and bubble baths or whatever you want to call it. I wasn't there when Will had to, you know, it's just we have to get to a point where we stop. And I get it, because when I think about how our community has always fought to get out of poverty, right? Always working to work in corporate America or become a celebrity or athletes. We're always working to create wealth. We want generational wealth because that's what we've been told is necessary for us to achieve greatness. When it comes to the Black community, we're always trying to uplift it. And a lot of that uplifting comes from the fact that we want this idea of generational wealth. We want what white people have had on this land for forever, right? And so with that said, what tends to happen is we've created Black excellence. when we see people achieve different things, we're still in a position where we're the first Black person to do this or the first Black woman to do that, right? We're still in those positions, so we tend to hold on to our hero, where we make them heroes instead of humans. We make them heroes or martyrs instead of humanizing these people just because they did something great that we think white people didn't think we could do. So we Black excellence it, right? And therefore, when people we think are great, like a Will Smith or like a Jada Pinkett, does something that is not normal, we're shocked. And to me, that is so dumb. Stop. These people are human. And they're going to think that they're making decisions based upon how they want to live their lives. And how someone lives our lives, I'm sorry, I'm worried about my own life. Not my problem. They're not my friends. I don't know them.
I think that's... Oh.
And so just to end that point is just we have to get to a point where we have to stop doing this with people just because we see them on TV or just because, you know, we like their songs. We have to stop doing that because you're going to always be disappointed and you're always going to be shocked and not understand that they have a different freedom from you. When you get millions of dollars, you have a different type of power. People are saying yes, left, and right. So you can start creating rules that have nothing to do with the rest of the world.
And yeah, because you think about Will and Jada. Will Smith has done a lot in his career as far as just like the limitations that were set upon him. It's just being a black male rapper, and the accomplishments, TV shows, platinum albums, blockbuster movies. Started his own empire. So like you said, the Black community puts him up at a certain standard, but then we kind of question his lifestyle, himself, and then we question his lifestyle as him and his wife, and then his parenting lifestyle. So, but it's like, but that's his life. Let him live it. He's different. Maybe, you know, he wants to raise his kids differently than how he was raised. Especially him not having a father there. I don't know. Well, Jada's mother is still in her life, so they still have those conversations, red talk conversations. But, and the thing is, I applaud them for the thing is, they're not being 100% open about what goes on in their house, but they're dropping little like bits and like how we do things in our house. And it's kind of like, part of me is like, maybe they're doing that just to see how the public will perceive it. And that way, if it's like more welcomed, or if it's not like facing backlash, they'll probably start giving more information. And they're kind of like being pioneers to probably Hollywood couples, to probably Black couples, to people who just want a different way of life as far as what the ideal Black family is. Because like you said, we grew up in church, so it's kind of like church all the time. It's supposed to be married and have kids by the time you're 25 or 30. And it's like for them, or just like a monogamous relationship. But like now, I know a handful of people who are in open relationships. And as long as, my thing is like, once again, I don't care, you know, what you do, but as long as like for that, that marriage or that commitment, as long as you guys have good communication amongst you, that you guys are on the same page. You have good communication between each other. That's it. So I think they're really being pioneers too, is just be like, hey, yes, we're Black, we're a Hollywood couple. At the end of the day, they really don't give a F what we think, because they're sitting on millions, and that's the easy attitude to have. And you know, they don't have to worry about what people think. But it's just,
clearly they might do. Well, I mean, clearly they might do if it's such a secret. But
the thing is, like, why should you know? Does that help you sleep at night?
I mean, you don't have to, but it is telling.
It's telling, but at the same time, I think it's showcasing like there's different ways of marriage. There's different ways of Black marriage. There's different ways of Black love out there. You know, Michelle Obama, tight-knit, ride or die, both prestigious in their own fields, and then they come together. It's like, boom, power couple. Same thing with Jay-Z, Beyonce. Like, hey, I came from the projects. I was a middle-class girl from Texas. When we come together, we build this empire. Will and Jada, you know, they're just like a different kind of black love. It's just different. It's different ways of showcasing black love, black unity, and black marriages and black relationships to the point where we can't, I'm not saying we have to embrace it, but we have to understand it. Just how we understand different people's backgrounds to like size them up to who they are today. It's like we have to understand, okay, you have an open marriage. If that works for you, great, but it's good. Like, why do you have an open marriage? You don't have to tell me why you have an open marriage, you know, at the end of the day. But it's like, it's good to know that there's people out there who are in open marriage, who are people of color, and that it can happen and that can make it work. They've been married since what, late 90s? And, you know, they're still together. Maybe the open marriage helped them stay together. The fact that you put it out there and you're a public person, that opens up for our input and our critiques and criticism and our opinions. At the end of the day, for me, whoever you sleep with is whoever you sleep with. Whoever you love is whoever you love. Whoever you're in a relationship with, one person, two person, three person, I don't care, as long as it's not my child. But other than that, it's just, I'm just gonna leave it like that. But let them live their life.
And I just want to add my last 2 cents is, it would be such a different situation if August came out and said that they were abusing him. Because I think being powerful and being abusive is a whole different thing. But he didn't. He said they have love. There is love. There was love. It will continue to be love. And therefore, there's nothing else for me to, I don't have an opinion on that. People do, like you said, people do their marriages different ways. And we don't live in that household. We don't pay my bill. We don't contribute to that household in any way. And you can think it's wrong. You can think it's wrong. But so then you just don't do it. You don't have to agree, but then you just don't do it. People kill me with that. I don't agree. I don't, as if you don't, your non-agreeance is like going to stop some shit. It's not. It's not.
My thing is, who asked you? That's my question. I don't agree with it. No, who asked you for your opinion? That's the thing.
Because people love to shame.
And judge. And judge.
But then go off and do what they want to do privately and not want the same thing. That's a hope. Wrapping it up. That was the conversation for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to seeing you. I mean, we're posting this. Put comments in the comments on YouTube. They're right there.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Never. We want to always end on something positive. What's something you want to put out, Aiden?
Okay, so you said earlier in this program that, you know, finding joy. And so along with finding joy, find peace as well, and also find happiness. Now, I'm not saying go out of your way, and if it's borderline going to kill you to do that, you know, don't risk your health and your sanity. But once you find it and let it come to you, once you find it or let it come to you, and once you've accepted joy, peace, and happiness and love as well, do whatever you can to mold it. Do whatever if you feel like you need to protect it, protect it. Do what you can. Do what you must to protect it, and hold on to it as long as you can.
The positive thing that I want to put out is to share something personal. Personally, I have a birthday coming up soon that has been a struggle to deal with. I used to love, like, I love my birthday. And now I'm like, it's my birthday and I haven't accomplished these things. But I just want to put out the energy of, it's okay. It's okay, and it's all a lie. You know what I mean? In terms of where people think you're supposed to be at a certain age and a certain time, and these dynamics that just keeps us in doubt and consistent doubt and stress, and it's not productive. Be productive.
Times are changing. How people do things nowadays are differently. How we live nowadays are differently. How we accomplish things these days is different than what they was in the past. So people who are not getting with the times, it's best that you do as soon as possible, because once you finally do, you're probably going to be so far behind that you miss out on great experiences.
And on that note, I want to like to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Let Me Say This. I am Meagan D, and this is
Aiden A.D.
We'll see you later.
We'll see you later. Be nice, be kind, be human, and until we meet again, safe travels.